If you like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings, this is the channel you need. So subscribe and follow Carmentary.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carmentary. My name is Neil. Tonight, I want to talk while I drive in my car. I'm going to talk about the recent avalanches. We had 2 avalanches yesterday here in Japan, one in Hokkaido, one in Niigata. Both with fatalities, both foreign tourists. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to say thank you to all the people who have been coming up to me on the mountain at the resorts recently, introducing themselves, saying hi, telling me that they watch the channel, they enjoy all the videos I've produced. Some people, really long-time viewers, some more recent, I don't know exactly, but I've had many people come up to me on the hill recently and say really nice things about what I'm doing, and I really appreciate that. And please, if you see me on the mountain somewhere and you recognize me, please come up and say hi. Please tell me what you like, what you don't like, etc., what you want me to do more of. It's good, you know, it's nice to get comments, but it's even nicer to get real, live, human feedback. That is great, and I love it, so I wanted to say thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. It's making my day. My channel is, I'm a normal human being. I look at the view counts, I look at the analytics, and I'm always like, man, I would love to have videos that get, I don't know, 10,000 views or something. But in general, my view count it's not that spectacular. And I've been studying, and I understand that you really have to provide value to those who are watching. If you provide the right value and people get value out of what you're doing, they will subscribe, they will return, and they will continue to watch, and you will get more and more views. So I'm working on that. And when I meet people and they say nice things about the channel, it makes me feel like, okay, at least I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing. I'm providing some value, information about Hokkaido, Japan, etc. So that's great. Sorry about the interruption there. My memory card was full. I had to stop. I actually did some shopping. I'm back in the car now. We will continue our conversation. So I was about to talk about these avalanche incidences, these accidents that happened yesterday here in Japan. I took some screenshots so I can read the details just roughly. The first one was in Niigata, Japan. A 49-year-old French man died Friday when he was hit by an avalanche while skiing on a mountain in Niigata Prefecture, some 200 kilometers northwest of Tokyo. The mountain is Ogenashi. This is, let's see, near Lotte Alai Resort. They were basically skiing off-piste from the ski resort, I'm assuming. And in the afternoon, police received a call at about 2 p.m. It was 3 people, and one of the skiers was swept away by an avalanche. 30 meters in width, 5 meters in depth, and some 300 meters in length. So that's a pretty big avalanche. 5 meters in depth. Like, really? Like, I don't know how accurate this is. The snowpack in Arai, I don't know exactly. I did a little check all across Japan yesterday. The deepest snowpack being registered at a ski resort is like 2 meters and 40 centimeters. So sure, in some kind of a little valley where snow collects more, it can be much deeper than what the ski resort is reporting. So 5 meters is possible, but that's a really deep avalanche. So that was the first accident that was reported. And then there was one here in Hokkaido. So the details on this, again, this is just from a little news report that I saw. One foreign woman buried alive in an avalanche on Mount Yotei in Hokkaido. An avalanche occurred on Mount Yotei in Hokkaido, Japan this afternoon, and a foreign woman was buried alive. The police sent a helicopter to rescue her, but the woman died after being sent to the hospital. According to Japan's NHK television report, an avalanche occurred on Mount Yotei on the afternoon of the 13th. Police said that they received a report call about 2:20 p.m. Very close time-wise to the incident in Niigata. There were 10 foreign tourists in a group on Mount Yotei when they encountered an avalanche. This one woman was buried. The group quickly dug up the woman, but she was not breathing when she was dug out. The police quickly dispatched a helicopter to rescue the woman, and she was sent to the hospital and died. So both sad stories, both bad endings, fatalities in both cases, Mount Yotei and in Niigata as well. What to say here? Well, let me start driving so we can be heading home here as we talk. Basically, this is kind of the pattern that we are seeing over the last few years as we have an influx of foreign tourists. Recently, I did a Carmentary and I spoke about the rash of search and rescue operations at the local resort where we have our cafe, Sapporo Kokusai. 3 out of 4 search and rescue missions were all local or at least Japanese residents. One group out of those 4 was a foreign guided tour. Now these 2 incidences today or yesterday both involved foreign tourists. Now we are seeing a lot of European, Canadian, North American groups coming through, even today up on the mountain, with international guides, international mountaineering guides. They're easily recognizable. There's a certain look to an international mountain guide, and they have these like patches and all this stuff on their jackets, so you can tell. Today there was a guide from Sweden, and he had a group that had just come in and he was going to go hiking. So there are a lot of people coming to Japan to tour the mountains, and then there are other groups who are not in guided tours. They're just coming over with a couple friends to hit the resorts or hit the side country. And this has led to a rise in accidents and, problems around Japan. And usually every year, I don't know, I would say we're seeing at least one fatality. I remember there was one in Tomamu, maybe was that 3 years ago, excuse me. So the last 2 years, due to the pandemic, it was very quiet. There were not any accidents of that kind because those tourists were not able to come to Japan. So here it is, we crank things up again and we start to see accidents. Now, why did this happen yesterday? Well, the main reason is the weather. We had a huge snowstorm. Not everywhere, but I'm assuming Niigata got quite a bit of snow, and we got a big dump of snow last week or earlier this week in Hokkaido, and then it got really warm, like average for April in Hokkaido, kind of warm. Yesterday, the day these accidents happened, it was 8 degrees Celsius, plus 8 degrees Celsius in Jozanke, where I live, which is already at some elevation above Sapporo. So in Sapporo, it may have even been warmer. Incredible meltout of all the snow. Everything is it's brown and ugly and dirty and nasty now. The day before that, which was the 12th, was a magical day. It warmed up that day, but the morning was incredible because you had all this fresh snow. The resort had been closed for 2 days, reopened, and I was lucky to be up there. You could feel that the temperature was rising dramatically, and I was happy to get a couple of runs on the courses, which were powder and had been closed for 2 days. But it just naturally, I didn't have the time. No one offered to go backcountry with me, but in that situation where I know the temperature is rising dramatically, I would be very careful about going into any dangerous avalanche kind of terrain. That day passed without incident, but it was yesterday, the second day, and the even warmer day where these accidents happened. So someone who really knows their avalanche, science would be able to maybe explain that a little better. But anytime you have a large amount of snow followed by really fast rising of temperatures, that's like a major danger sign. Now, I don't have any details about what actually happened, what kind of slope these groups were on. You know, if the person who got buried was the one who triggered the avalanche, or was it triggered by someone from above? Were they stopped in the wrong place? I mean, there's so many variables, there's so many, you know, situations. It could have even been a natural avalanche that came from above that they didn't even cause. There are many details that you could go into, but the fact is, I always recommend, if you're gonna come and do side country or backcountry, is use a guide. Use a local guide or use an international guide. You're definitely gonna be better off with a guide. But as we can see from these accidents, it's not perfect. It's not 100%. There is no 100% solution in the mountains. There's always gonna be some kind of risk. Now, you could say, hey, you know, not only your guide, but everyone should be able to recognize that it's like incredibly warm. You know, even if you arrived the day before and you saw that beautiful snow, but you looked at the weather report and you went outside in the morning, you're like, oh man, it's getting crazy hot. Should we be going on this tour? It's tough though. I understand in those situations, especially if you're with a group of people, you're not controlling the entire situation. And you can be put in a spot where you might not like it. You might say, hey, I don't know about hiking Mount Yote today. It's kind of sketchy. Should we be in that terrain trap valley where if something slides, we're gonna get dragged all the way to the bottom? Like, maybe this isn't the day for it. But the guide's cool with it, the other customers are laughing, and everybody's having a good time. And then boom, you've got an accident. So it's a tricky situation, which I don't have a solution for, but just keep that in the back of your mind when you tour in any country, obviously. Keep your eyes wide open, you know, and really be aware of what is going on around you in your natural situation. So even that little, I think that little edge of just being like extra cautious. Maybe some people relax a little too much when they're in a guided or tour situation, especially if you're with a group of people, you're laughing and chatting and having fun, and it's like, yeah, this is great, man, we're in Japan, let's go have a beer tonight. Oh! And, you know, just, you gotta stay on edge and be like, man, we're standing in the wrong spot right now, or, you know, don't stop there. Sorry, folks, my GoPro just keeps on stopping. All right, we're gonna wrap this up soon, though. I don't want this to be too long. Just for reference though, I did have a quick search on Google to see, well actually, when I looked up the first news report, the website that had that story had related stories pop up at the bottom of the screen, and there were several about avalanches in Austria or France or somewhere in Europe, and it struck me because the numbers were so different. We had one fatality here in Hokkaido, and the news story about Austria was something like 10 people buried in an avalanche, or, you know, the numbers were much larger. And I've seen that in the past. Obviously it's the size of the mountains, right? In the Alps, you have these really massive mountains. You're at high elevation with no trees. Everybody's on this massive slope, and it does avalanche. The whole party can be taken down. Same thing in Canada and other countries. It always seems that the fatality numbers are much higher than what we see here in Japan. So I think there was an avalanche many years ago in Hakuba. I arrived there the day after it happened, and I remember there were 3 people buried and died in that avalanche. And that was kind of like a really big, it seemed like a really big number for Japan. I did a Google search on, you know, the highest number of people ever to die in an avalanche, and this was kind of blew me away. In Peru in 1970, there was an earthquake, and that triggered a whole bunch of avalanches. It killed like 22,000 people. Wow. That is wild. It's not just a snow avalanche. Apparently there was snow and ice. There was like mudslide. It was a lot of earth moving around. So that, accounts for that numbers. In 1916, there was one called White Friday where between 2,000 to 10,000 people died. Wow. There was another one in Peru that killed 4,000. And then in 2015, there was one in Afghanistan. Avalanches killed 310 people. Wow. Those are like some crazy, crazy numbers. I know there's other avalanches, big avalanches in Europe where, class 5 avalanches, whole villages have been buried and really intense stuff. Basically, my message today is, very sad and troubling news yesterday. I also I start to think about the human side of it, and you think about obviously the person who died and their family, the worst possible outcome. And then you have the travelers, the other people in the group. I don't know, I've never been in a situation like that. I can't imagine what it's like to go on a trip to a foreign country and you're all out there having fun with the same, like-minded people in a group, and then one person dies in this tragic accident. And how do you deal with that, and how do you carry that home with you? That's a rough one. I really feel for the people in that situation. Same with the one in Niigata. You have a group of 3 skiing together. One guy gets caught in an avalanche, dies, and these other 2, man, that's like a heavy situation. I hope we can all avoid situations like that and stay safe and have fun in the mountains this winter and every winter here to come. Once again, a big thank you to everybody who keeps coming up to me. Please, if you recognize me, please say hi. And wherever you are, regardless of location, backcountry, side country, or on the resorts, remember to stay safe. There was another incident I saw. Where was that? In Canada or America? There was a lift that the power died and people were stuck on the lift for hours and hours. That's, wow. Well, I don't think anyone died in that situation, but that could be pretty terrible too. Stuck on a freezing cold lift. I mean, you'd think you'd be safe, right? It's not avalanche terrain. So anything can happen at any time. Let's all stay aware and conscious in the moment. Thanks for listening. Drive safe.
If you like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings, this is the channel you need. So subscribe and follow Carmentary.